Alright guys, it has been so long since I've been in this chair making one of these videos. It's been months. I got a new camera though, but I'm back. I'm going to start doing these videos a lot more often, so expect more frequent uploads. But anyways, I guess this is going to be the start of Season 2 of the Science Explained. So in this episode, I'm going to go over 3 of the best ways that I think you can use resistance bands in your training. Now, this video is going to be more for like powerlifting type applications, not really like any fancy new exercises for glutes or anything like that. So it's going to be more powerlifting and bodybuilding style. Now, the way that bands work is they work for exercises that have ascending strength curves. Now, an ascending strength curve is an exercise where as you complete the concentric portion of an exercise, you get stronger. So the concentric portion is the part of an exercise when you're overcoming gravity. So for example, when you're doing squats, when you're right at the bottom of a squat and you squat up, that's the concentric portion. And in particular, when you're doing squats, when you're at the bottom, that's your weakest point, and then you get stronger and stronger as you squat up. So what the bands do is, let's say I'm doing squats, right? And I have the bands hooked around the top of the squat rack, and then they're coming down and hooking to the sides of the bar. So when I squat down, the band elongates, right? And so it's taking more and more weight off as I go. So when I'm at the Are you fucking serious, dude? Sorry, guys. So when you squat down, the band's elongating more and more. So it's helping the most when you're at the bottom, and that's when you're the weakest, right? So when you squat up, the band helps less and less and less as you get stronger, so it moves with your natural strength curve. Now, yeah, get the hell out of here. Now, the opposite side of this is exercises with descending strength curves. So this is basically you get weaker as you finish the concentric portion. So examples of this are usually a lot of back exercises, like a lot of rowing and lat pull down exercises, because if you're doing lat pull down, you notice that as you pull closer to your chest, it gets harder and harder. So exercises like that wouldn't really be useful for using bands. So we're going to stick to ascending strength curve exercises, which most obvious ones are going to be squats, bench, and deadlift. Also like shoulder press movements as well, but we're going to stick to the 3 powerlifting ones. So as far as research, there's been quite a few studies that have looked at using resistance bands in training, and there was actually a meta-analysis that was published a year ago that looked at a bunch of different studies. And after reviewing them, what they found was, or what they concluded, was that using them for at least 7 weeks caused significant increase in strength compared to not using them. So basically just showing that, they are beneficial and that they can improve your training. Now more specifically, there was an exercise using bands for squats, and what they found was using bands increased power and velocity much more compared to not using bands. So being able to lift powerfully and explosively is really, really important for lifting heavy. So what this study showed is that using bands is a great way to kind of build that power and speed up. So that's the science behind using bands, how they work. Now I'm going to go over the 3 ways that I think are the best to include them in your training. So number 1 is with this small band right here. So what I like about this band is I like using it for auto-regulating my training, and what that means is basically adjusting the weight and the volume that you're going to do based off how you feel on any given day. So for example, let's say like you go into the gym and you have like your set weight and reps and volume and all that stuff that you're going to do, and let's say you do your first set and it's really, really easy, and you're like, all right, I'm feeling really good today. So auto-regulating is basically you're going to increase the weight a little bit. Now on the other hand, if you're not feeling good and it feels really heavy, then you can decrease the weight a little bit based off how you feel. So there's a study that looked at auto-regulating your training compared to not auto-regulating your training and going off like a set plan each week or each workout. And what they found was the participants who auto-regulated their training and adjusted it based off how they felt made better progress compared to those who didn't. So, the problem with just going off a set plan is that it doesn't always take into account how you're going to feel on any given day. So basically the study showed that it is beneficial to adjust your training based off how you feel. So what I like to do with those smaller bands is use them like on days when I'm not feeling as strong, so it makes it a little bit easier. So what you can do is, here I have them set up for reverse band squats. So let's say like on this day, you know, I did first couple sets and my last reps like, holy shit, like that was really, really heavy. I'm not really feeling it today. So I throw these bands on, and when I squat down, you know, they help me just a little bit at the bottom where I'm the weakest. And, you know, once I get to the top, it's like still the same weight. So the reason why this is beneficial is because if you're not having a good day, using small bands like this is the best thing you can do to still use the heavy weight without having to decrease it, right? Because it helps a little bit at the bottom where you overcome your weakness, and then at the top it's pretty much the same weight as what you originally intended on using. So that's number one. Number two is with these big bands right here. So I like to use these mainly for speed work. Usually when I use them, I don't really go heavy just because it's such a thick band, so it gets really, really heavy really, really fast. So as you can see in this video, I'm using them for deadlifts. I only have 225 loaded up on the bar. But like I said, these bands get so heavy, it literally feels like your arms are gonna rip off at the top. So for this, like the focus isn't weight, it's really just speed off the floor and then just accelerating through the rep and just being explosive as I can. So there was a study that looked at using bands for deadlifts, and what they found was for increasing velocity and power, it's better to use a thicker band rather than a thinner band. So that's why I have really, really thick band. And the reason why I think this is because when you have a really, really thick band and if you know it's going to get really heavy really fast, it's kind of like a mental thing where it just makes you explode as hard as you possibly can, rather than if you're, you know, using a really thin band, then, you know, once you lift the weight, like the weight doesn't change that much, it doesn't get that heavy, so you kind of don't have that mental connection with it. So that's why I think using a thicker band is better when you're working on speed work. So that's number two. Number three, with these bands right here. So this is, I guess, more like an intermediate resistance band. So I like to use these more for hypertrophy stuff. So for example, on my leg days, I've been incorporating more like hypertrophy, like slow and controlled stuff. So I like to use these for doing reverse band front squats. Now, as you can see here, I have them hooked up the same way as before when I was doing the other squats. And this band in particular, I feel like it complements my natural strength curve extremely well. So what I mean by that is the difficulty feels the exact same throughout the entire rep, right? Whereas without the bands, you know, I already explained that you're weaker at the bottom of the squat, so it's harder at the bottom, and then it gets easier as you go up. So with this band, the difficulty level feels the same, and for me that has two benefits. Number one, it allows me to really focus on, you know, my form and making each rep perfect, and I can actually focus on the muscles that I'm training, rather than, you know, if it's going to get really heavy at the bottom, it's kind of throws you off a little bit. And the other reason is it allows you to go a lot heavier when you're doing hypertrophy work. If I wanted to go heavier without the bands, you know, I wouldn't be able to go as heavy because I would just get stuck at the bottom where it's the hardest, and I could do the reps at the top, not the bottom, which means I'd either have to decrease weight or I wouldn't be able to do as many reps. So with a band like this, you can go heavier and you can really focus on the muscles that you're training. So I don't have a study for this method. This is more of just like a personal experience thing. I think it's helped a lot, especially for front squats. I've been using that band a lot when doing front squats. Now lastly, what bands to buy? So as you guys can see, I have a few different sizes. You can get them from Amazon. These ones right here are from 4Core Fitness. I'll post a link to their Amazon page in the description below. But you know, ever since I started using bands, I definitely noticed a big increase in strength. They've helped a lot, especially with my bar speed and just overall explosiveness, which is really important for lifting heavy. So if you guys don't have any bands, I highly recommend you get them, and especially get different sizes because they can be used for lots of different things. So anyways, that's going to conclude this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you guys leave a comment and thumbs up. It's a great way to show me that you guys liked the video. And if you guys haven't, make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.